I'd like to call to order the meeting of Monday, February 26th, and if you'd stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The clerk would please take the roll.
Councilmember Archibald.
Here.
Councilmember Ashford.
Present.
Councilmember Haremza.
Here.
Councilmember Lamb.
Here.
Councilmember Moserak.
Here.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Mayor Rep.
Here. And just for the record, James Freed, city manager, is on vacation for a couple days, and Nancy Windsor, deputy city manager, will be handling the meeting tonight. Minutes. Regular meeting of January, it does say January 22nd, you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, typo.
And it's not,
Do I
it
have
is
the
a
wrong
typo
ones in
on there, yes, as I'm repeating what it says.
Sorry.
I know it's correct on the minutes, but so it's,
No, it's not.
it is not? Okay.
We'll have
February
to do
12th.
Yep.
So it's the minutes of February the 12th. The actual minutes are correct. The date is wrong on it, so we will reflect that and change it. Is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved to include the
Support.
correction.
Okay, thank you. It's moved and supported. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes will stand as corrected.
Correct date. Yeah. I'll put that in now.
We have one presentation tonight.
I'll get there. Proclamation designating February as Black History Month will be presented to Kevin Watkins, president of the Port Huron branch of the NAACP.
You'd like to join me down here?
Hey, Mayor, I'd like to have our new council president also join
Oh,
us.
sure.
Anything I do is always with the new council president.
Well, certainly, you can come forward.
They are next in line. the
Yes,
lead.
they are.
Okay.
Got some more coming? Oh, great. That's really great. Let me read this. Whereas Black History Month is celebrated each February, and throughout Black History Month, we recognize the extraordinary achievements and acknowledge the many contributions Black Americans have made in our nation, our state, and our city. And whereas civil rights activists such as Martin Luther King Jr., with courage and perseverance, inspired the nation to judge a person by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. And whereas as a result of their hard work, intelligence, and determination, Black Americans have made valuable and lasting contributions, achieving exceptional success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, and the arts. And whereas Black History Month is an opportunity to reflect on the struggle for freedom and equal opportunity in the United States. And whereas Black History Month is a time for all residents to remember the stories and teachings of those who helped build our nation, took a stance against prejudice to build lives of dignity and opportunity, advanced the cause of civil rights, and strengthened families and communities. And whereas the city of Port Huron continues to work toward becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community, the state, country, and the world. And whereas during Black History Month, all Americans are encouraged to reflect on past successes and challenges of Black Americans and look to the future to continue to improve society so that we all live up to the ideals of freedom, equality, and justice. Now, therefore, I, Pauline M. Rep., by the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Port Huron, and on behalf of council members Archibald, Ashford, Haremza, Lamb, Moserak, and Pemberton, do hereby proclaim February 2024 to be Black History Month in the city of Port Huron, and urge citizens to take every opportunity to participate in planned activities and to join together in making this a period of rededication to the principles of justice and equality for all people. There you go.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor.
You might want to introduce all of your
Can you
people
introduce
right
yourself,
there,
Mayor?
too.
Please, sir. Introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
council.
I'm Cooper Malik.
Nice to meet you.
Adriana Lucroy,
Who are you, Adriana? You are the president.
president of the youth.
Council.
Valencia Price, and I'm the secretary of the council. Jamal Warner, I'm the treasurer of the youth.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, council. You have a great mayor who I don't think there's too many mayors in the country that does great proclamations and dedications and groundbreakings, as our mayor rep does. So we thank you for this. As it's important of the acknowledgement. Black History Month, known as African American History Month, celebrated in February, recognizing all the Mayor, you stated it very well here, all the accomplishments that the Black Americans have made to the United States of this country. What we've done here locally is we're near the end of the month. We had some great things we've done. We had a great display. This opened up right here in our beautiful municipal building here. The community sing where the church got together. We sung and celebrated. Then we have a display that's still there you can see at the museum. There was a display and a program put on, dedicated by a youth council there, and we had a play at the college dedicating from whence we come. Basically, the name was remember then our history going through the civil rights movement. And we have a Taste of Soul. We just had at the museum. We had a lot of soul food, introducing soul food to the public, and some original food from recipes from Africa. And we have right now, if you've been traveling downtown Port Huron to see the banner campaign, something we started this is our third year. What we've done, we have banners that are celebrating those matriarchs and patriots of Black Americans that have contributed to here, paving the way here for many Americans, and especially Black Americans in Port Huron and St. Clair County at large. And so we wanted to celebrate our local matriarchs and patriarchs that dug in, been here, back their roots from the Underground Railroad here in St. Clair County. So if you can, travel downtown to see those banners, bring back some memories. This has been a great month. It has moved really fast. So I'm enjoying the last week of it, and we thank you for the proclamation. And anything we do with our adult council branch, we want to introduce and bring our youth. They are the next leaders. There's many that came before us that paved the way, and we're paving the way from them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. So one thing, our council, we like to youth council would like to present. Let's ask if we can approach.
Oh, certainly.
Each one of you.
Certainly.
You go.
Kevin, while you're passing those out, I think one of your programs, I made them all, but the soul food dinner, I was knocked out. But I think one of the big highlights for me is you had the FBI here and the Attorney General's office, and they came in these chambers and they had they had almost more people than we did, a very well presentation of hate crimes and why people hate to, and it wasn't just Black, but they had the white part, they kind of joined it together so we could understand it a little bit more better. And I thought that was significant. And I'd just like to congratulate you, the NAACP, because you're keeping it going, you're keeping it out there, and you're bringing people together. It's been packed packed events that you've been doing throughout this month of February. Yes. So thank you so much.
Yes, and one of them was united.
Yeah.
And the key word is united. That united that we fight against hate and the FBI. We do progressive great presentation to let us know what we can do. We're part of the clients, base that, when we know something, how to report. Great presentation.
Yeah.
It was like the men and women in black. They were all in the place of
yeah, they were.
dressed in suits, and it was kind of like, well, that's real intimidating. But they're some very nice people.
It was really good.
And it gives out information where we need contact, so we might have issues that come with NACP, we can do the Department of Justice if there's a problem that we can do with. These colors are
Kenta cloth.
beautiful, Africa. Beautiful, and it's kind of a bridge. It's called from the homeland, and then we Carrie was brought here with us here to the Americans, and we hold this close to heart. And we'd like to present each council member, mayor, and Mr. Freeman, Lee Morgan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'd like to take a photo of who you guys are.
Oh,
Certainly.
Is that okay?
thank you. Thank you.
Adriana, don't choke me.
Thank you, eh? Thank you. Thank you. This is lovely.
I'm sure if I come up here or not. Do I? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Sitting, standing?
Oh, you want us to come
Oh,
out
couldn't
there?
they
so you
come
can-
up behind?
Okay, we can do that. We're going to come around so you can take the picture. Come on.
Oh, crap. No.
We're going that way.
Sorry.
Oh, that's right, that's right. You just got comfortable.
Justice for Casey. They don't put the ribbons down, they won't have a DEI.
Thank you all for attending.
More comfortable in life.
Okay, I will.
Okay, we will move on with the public hearing.
To receive comments on the general needs in community development, housing, and special services utilizing CDBG and home funds.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on public hearing number 1? Seeing no one, I'll declare the hearing closed, and we will move on to public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address the city council, please come forward. You have 4 minutes. Please state your name and where you live. Thank you.
Kevin Linke. It's interesting who took off the ribbons real fast. You were just in the newspaper about the problems you're having with the Ashford and the DEI stuff. So it's just interesting that you guys took those snatches off so fast. Funny. I came tonight because I wanted to see James, but he's obviously not here. But just so the city council knows, we have now scheduled some depositions through Mr. Shouty for James and for Ashley Bowman and for her best friend Jackie and for some other people involved for the lawsuit that's going on. So we're going to find out who's lying and who's telling the truth and what's really going on with that whole situation through some federal litigation, and Todd can probably fill you in on all that. The other interesting thing about it is Todd's trying to get a protective order on the depositions because he doesn't want us to be able to talk publicly about what's said in the depositions about the information we get. But we'll see about that, Todd. We'll see what the Fed judge says. The disturbing the peace ticket, the whole council will be getting subpoenas for the trial for that. So you guys want to push a disturbing the peace ticket, then we're going to have a 3-day trial and you guys are all going to testify and, you know, it's going to be a good time. So a lot going on. The Wrigley Center, how's that going, Bob? You live there, right? Did they just shut down last night? A lot of problems going there with your little pet project. You guys should probably figure out what's going on there too, because a lot of public money went to that and it seems like it's a complete shit show right now. What's up, Jeff? Doing all right? How come you and Miss Ashford are beefing? Did you guys not read the Times Herald article from a few days ago? Talking about this stuff. You guys just had a little meeting on Saturday, right? You guys should read the Times Herald. Talks about you too, Bob. What's your problem with Miss Ashford and the DEI proposal? I mean, you guys just did a photo op with the NAACP, but you're opposing a DEI proposal that would help a lot of people that the NAACP represents. So, your photo ops are cute. James is drinking. You guys gonna do something about that? It's getting embarrassing. You know, I know you got mad about the bowling alley pic. If you don't want your picture taken, don't go in public. Because I know you and James took the police to Port Huron Lanes and tried to get the videotapes to find out who sent me the pictures of you guys out. Is that really what you need to be doing with your time? I mean, really, you're a city council member. Think I'm still fooled by you? But the rest of you, and you guys figure out who sent the postcard yet? Mayor Rep, you know who sent that postcard? I mean, I do. I'm just curious if you do. Anyone else know? I'm some of it left. A minute 20 still. Haven't been here in a minute. I see you guys are making amends with Julian too. That's good. Should work with people. I'm just glad to see you guys. I missed you. 33 days away. Felt like forever. James's, oh, that's what I want to talk about. James's coffee hours. Why is he getting to use Port Huron Police as a security detail at community coffee hours? It seems like a huge waste of resources. I don't know why you're making that face. Did he have police officers at his coffee hour? Did he? Yeah. Well, somebody said yes. Why can't you answer that question? So why is he getting to walk around with a security detail to community coffee hours? Shouldn't the police be out protecting the community so we don't have stuff going on like Casey and Josh and all the other bad shit that's happening? But we got to protect James and his good eyebrows? It's ridiculous. Let's see, how much time we got? 10 seconds. Is he going to reschedule his last one soon? I mean, I'm home now, so I can go to I was planning on going to that one, but cancel it. No, 4 seconds. I don't want to run over my time. I want to get run to the federal judge. Seeing y'all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council this evening? Please come forward. You have 4 minutes. If you please give us your name.
Good evening. Eileen Tesh, Algonac. There's 3 things that I would like to discuss this evening, and one is the James Freed's coffee hour. All I have to say is that if you can't organize 3 coffee hours and you have to change a location at the last minute because the owner of the bar did not grant permission and then cancel another one altogether for scheduling conflicts, it's no wonder that obviously Port Huron is suffering under this leadership. And since when does a highly paid city employee, especially a city manager, James Freed, invite residents to have a cup of coffee and discuss their ideas and concerns? I mean, I would think that those of you that are running for re-election should be out there in the community and not sending James Freed. I don't know whose idea it was, but it was an embarrassment. The next issue I'd like to address is the bad behavior being rewarded. City Manager James Freed has still refused to release his statement regarding the Ashley Bowman matter, and Mayor Pauline Rep told the audience at a city council meeting that it was in his personnel file. Well, city clerk responded to the FOIA and said the document does not exist. And then James Freed said that he doesn't have to release it to the public. It's kind of arrogant. In 2020, during COVID, City Manager James Freed ended up in a lawsuit, as you all know, for blocking and deleting negative comments on his Facebook page and that he didn't like or were that critical to him. But the case is currently pending before the U.S. Supreme Court, and no matter what the outcome is, Supreme Court cases do not come cheap. So, another matter, in 2022, James Freed was called out again by the very prestigious ICMA, the International City Managers Association, that you're all aware of. It's unheard of for a city manager not to be accredited. So the ICMA censored Freed for ethics violations, and Freed responded by filing a defamation suit, another lawsuit that the taxpayers are going to be on the hook for. What's worse is that you, city council, gave him a raise. It just, words can't express. I must talk about the killing of Joshua Conant, finally, and most importantly, because City Manager James Freed scheduled Chief Platzer at the end of a meeting to give his administrative review regarding the officer involved. It was not on the regular agenda, and most important, everybody, most of the people had left, including Joshua's family. And that is, it was so wrong and callous, and James never apologized, or there was never any explanation why he did that. The good people of Port Huron are tired of the kabuki theater with the elected officials and the unaccredited, controversial, and arrogant city manager. And James Freed's response, let's have a cup of coffee. It's a dark time in Port Huron, but hopefully, God willing, will be light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the city council this evening? Please give your name and address.
Carol Miller, Port Huron Township. Good evening, council members. I was going to address these questions to Mr. Freed, but unfortunately his discussion time I was able to attend for the coffee meetings was canceled, and I didn't see another scheduled in its replacements. Since the mayor is here, I will be happy to have her answer the questions I have after public comment is closed, as I know you do not have to have an obligation to do so during this time. Many of the decisions of this council affect the surrounding areas, that's why I'm here, as well as those visiting the area. The safety and well-being of not only the citizens of the city of Port Huron, but all those that visit the city for varied reasons should be at the forefront of all of your council members' concerns. At the January 8th, 2024 meeting, Mr. Freed proposed, and the proposal was approved, to equip all police vehicles with an AED device after Mr. Josh Conant's father, Michael, asked for this. I, along with so many others, was elated to hear this go through. Firstly, do we know when these will be purchased? I understand it's a process, but with this being a safety concern, it should be expedited to happen sooner rather than later. Secondly, what is the strategic plan if there's not a policy in place for getting all officers officially trained on these devices? If there's not a policy, one needs to be put in place. Just placing the AED devices in the vehicles does not ensure that someone would know how to use one. Many people are intimidated by them. With being in healthcare, I believe all of the police department personnel that would be at any scene, rather than just patrol persons, which includes the chief of police, detectives, and so on, should be officially trained in basic life support, or CPR, as well as the AED devices. An example, laying a person on a flat surface with nothing but hard surface behind their back is a fundamental basic of CPR, but it's not followed. Anything under the person is usually an indication of ineffective CPR. I also believe that since many of the council and Mr. Freed attend ceremony and public events, you all should be trained to ensure that if an event happens, you will be able to assist those who need it and not just be a bystander. This is not just to help with the safety of the citizens, but also to be there to help your own families if the need be. It's shocking to hear how many times dispatch says that CPR instructions are being given when someone is in full cardiac arrest. Please don't be that person. Lastly, BCLS classes are to be updated every couple of years to stay on top of any changes that are made by the American Heart Association. Is there a policy in place that notes that all personnel who are to be BCLS certified are to be re-educated and pass the course in order to continue to be able to serve the citizens and visitors of the city for this safety issue? Ineffective CPR can delay cost of life. That was evident, so I am asking for the citizens and those of us who visit, especially those with no medical issues, to have all of you follow through with the entire needs that come along with these wonderful devices, as well as the proper training of those that are here to keep us safe in the city, not just placing them in the vehicles. I applaud the Conant family for asking for these devices to ensure the safety of others and a chance at a life-saving event. February is also Heart Month, so it's fitting to hear answers to the questions and keep those devices and updates transparent to the citizens. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council this evening? Please come forward, give us your name.
Hi, folks. How are you? Mike Bodice, Gratiot. Okay. I would have been here early, but my wife had me mopping the bakery floors. Okay. okay? So, anyhow, I'm here to talk about, real quick, the ordinance number 24-002, first reading. To support it, I, President of the Port Huron Landlord Association, and Vice President is Bill Johnson, who I was sitting next to. We've had some issues the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, but we had a chance, thanks to Mayor Rep and James Freed, Todd Shouty, David Haynes. Okay, we sat down, Bill and I, and one of my board members, Richard Ball, sat down, had a 2-hour discussion with Jasmine also, right? I'm sorry, honey. Okay, and I believe we got back to what rental inspection was meant to be 25 years ago. Okay, basically it was for safe housing for tenants, and we kind of got away from it a little bit, started chasing the code, and it's tough to bring 100-year-old houses up to code. We can bring 100-year-old houses safe. We can make them safe. That's not a problem. Okay, but to bring them up to code, but it seemed like where we were heading, we were going in the wrong direction. But again, with the ordinance in front of you, which finally understand everything what's going on, it's going to be a positive for landlords, the tenants, and the city. I think we're going to, David and I have butted heads in the past, okay, but I think we agreed now to kind of work together on this. And I know we can get it back to just using some common sense. There's some bad houses out there. There's bad landlords out there, some bad tenants out there, okay? We all want it to be, safe for everybody. But the problem we're running into, we discussed it, is, I've been in this thing 50 years now, so I'm on my way out, but we've got some really good young landlords that you want to keep them in Port Huron, but the way it was going, they were going outside of the city, and whether you like it or not, rentals are here to stay. Okay, they're always going to be, and it could be more at the rate with the cost of housing, stuff like that. So you want to encourage to have the good young landlords there. We talked about that, Todd, David, and stuff. And I think with these changes and getting back to, I believe what the ordinance was first adopted for, was going to go a long ways. We're going to have little issues with it as bumps in the road as we go along. We can always work that out. But again, what Todd recommended was real heavy, was make sure everything we do is in writing. Okay, now it is basically in writing, and we can follow it. Landlords can follow it. And again, we're not just a landlord association. I take just as many phone calls from tenants as I do from landlords. Okay, asking what their rights are, who to get a hold of to talk like that. So anyhow, I want to hope you pass this ordinance, and it's a good ordinance for everybody involved. And maybe we'll start a new chapter here, and we'll start working together all over again. Okay, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the City Council this evening? Please come forward, give us your name and address, and you have 4 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Curtis Carl, Port Huron Township. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Shouty for the information that he provided at the last City Council meeting, stating that the city can object to the renewal of an establishment's liquor license. The Roach's liquor license is set to expire on 4/30 of this year, which is 2 months away. I'm here today to ask the City Council to do the right thing and initiate the steps toward having the hearing on the objection to the Roach's liquor license renewal. I have personally made a complaint with the Liquor Control Commission, as well as a lot of others. But I don't believe that is enough. We need your help. So with the numerous issues that we've had with the Roach Bar leading up to the murder of Josh, I feel the city has an obligation to formally object to the renewal of the liquor license, and that will show that the city genuinely cares about making Port Huron a better place to live in and work in, and that everybody would feel safe. So I'm asking you tonight to do the right thing and pick that up, put it on your agenda. We got 2 months. Let's get the ball rolling. If you need any help from us, please ask. I'm here to help. Easy guy to find. So we want justice for Josh. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the audience tonight? Or the audience, address the City Council from the audience?
Holden Gauthier, 11th Ave. The infamous May 23rd video, I know he's not here, but Mr. Freed claimed that the city is not obligated to have a YouTube website. For the effort of transparency, you started a YouTube website so they could live stream in an effort to allow access to a larger margin of people. Mr. Freed mentioned that YouTube is not obligated by the Open Meetings Act and is an effort of transparency. He claims the video is not online because, quote, "We will not knowingly and willingly republish defamation because we could become liable and the taxpayers of Port Huron could become liable." I would just like to gain some insight as to what portion of a citizen defaming the city is the city liable for. I'm sure everyone here has been witness to more than enough occasions of public comment becoming a 4-minute free-for-all of what you might call defamation that's still posted to the city's YouTube. Videos are still being posted to the YouTube containing direct attacks, true or false, against the city or its representatives. A lot of you have been victim of that. I will reiterate to the council once more that you can't just pick and choose what transparency means to fit an agenda. Now, 97%, that's my rough calculation, having looked through the last 12 months of approved minutes of how often a resolution or from the city manager motion is passed. I know that some of these are simply to file communications, and I did my best to try to sort some of those out, but this is just a rough stat. What was alarming to me was the lack of any real discourse surrounding motions in general. Over 12 months, these are the results. Mayor Rep with 2 abstains. Ashford with 3 noes and 1 abstain. Lamb and Pemberton, noes to a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement, which was quite possibly the longest statements of council positions we've heard in a council meeting. Those noes, that's the transparency we need. I can't speak for the city and your constituents, but I personally value hearing your opinions, so I know what way to vote when the time comes. The alarming number of resolutions passed through consent agreements and unanimous votes, to me, suggests the council has agreed and discussed a resolution far ahead of a council meeting. The council owes it to the voting public to put their values on display. To describe my personal preference of a council person at this point, my ideal council member, someone who almost doesn't want to be here. It sounds odd to say, but I wish just one person up there would have the gall to mention the tough topics with no vested interest in staying for another term. Someone who will truly be transparent and make their voice heard in this room. Someone who mentions the assault of Charles Reed by Officer Shouty, the murder of Casey Curtin, or the fumbled case of Josh Conant. The last meeting was the longest we've heard the slightest mention of Josh, thanks to Miss Ashford. And really, that only led to the conversation about a liquor license, which I will support. I do hope you guys reject and oppose the renewal of that. So I'm just going to dedicate what last moments I do have of my time here to the silence here that we've all experienced regarding the aforementioned cases. Justice for Josh, justice for Casey, justice for all.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? Seeing no one, I'll declare public comment closed. I have asked Nancy Windsor if she would address the item of the AEDs, so that just for the audience's benefit, if you would, please.
Mayor Rep, City Council, Chief has informed me that we have 14 of the 19 in already, and that they're currently training all the employees during the month of February. So training, and they should be in the patrol cars next week. So hopefully, as we finish out the month here, we'll get the last ones in from the company. But 14 of the 19 are already in.
Okay, and also, just for the records, training has been offered to all city employees and the city council. As a matter of fact, Councilmember Lamb is volunteered her time to do some of the training as she is an RN and has that training. So she's helping out with the training of the city employees and the council. Someone else is doing the training of the police officers, but they all will be trained. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Terry?
After all of our situations and coming to find out what you actually commented on, there are many people out there that don't know how to use these AEDs. When I saw that, being a cardiac nurse for over 40 years, I was concerned. I went and recertified, so I am a certified instructor, and the classes will start next week. We had to purchase the mannequins and the training equipment, so it took a while for all that to get here. But yes, we will be teaching whomever would like to learn.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Ashford.
And my former employee, I'm already trained. Pardon me? Former employee of DTE Energy.
Yes.
That's where we take safety. That was my job. So we're trained already to do that.
I had training years ago, but it's been a long time, so it's time to be refreshed.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Plus, it's safe to mention also, when you talk about AED, they just don't give them to you. You do have to have that before they can be distributed to you. And there's, like I said, checks on there. So it's not that we're haphazardly taking advantage of something, but I'm sure glad that the person did bring it to us, because that's, working together. And we don't always have to come up with the answers, but thank God he was out there bringing that and we took action. So that's always a good thing.
We will move on the agenda. We have the consent agenda. Is there a motion? So moved.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Archibald, supported by, I think it was Bob Mosrak. Am I right?
Yep.
Okay. And we'll take the vote.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosrak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. Items on the consent agenda: received and filed notification from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission that an application has been received to transfer ownership of a 2023 watercraft license with Sunday sales permit and specific purpose permit for boat activities from the Huron Lady 2, incorporated at 102 Huron Avenue. Approve the scheduling of a public hearing for March 11th to hear input and receive comments from citizens on proposed grant applications through the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund and Michigan Department of Natural Resources Recreation Passport Fund for financial assistance in the improvements to Harrison Point Park and Knoxfield Park. As well, given the second reading and enactment of an ordinance to amend Chapter 16 Community Development, Article 4 Housing Development for Low-Income Persons of the Port Huron City Code to provide for a service charge in lieu of taxes for a housing project for low-income persons and families known as Northport Village to be financed with mortgage loan pursuant to the provisions of the State Housing Development Authority Act of 1966. And with that, we're going to move on to from the city manager. The first four under from the city manager, unless there's anybody who doesn't want to do this, they're all for chemicals for the wastewater and the water filtration plant. So we will take them as one item, and then you can ask your questions all at once.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Accepting the unit price bid from Chemtrade Chemicals US LLC in the amount of $582 per dry ton for an estimated 438 dry tons of aluminum sulfate for use at the wastewater treatment plant and the water filtration plant. Accepting the unit price bid from Hevlin USA in the amount of 0.109 cents per wet pound for an estimated 270,000 wet pounds of sodium hydroxide for use at the wastewater treatment plant. Accepting the unit price bid from JCI Jones Chemicals Incorporated in the amount of $1.88 per gallon for an estimated 189,500 gallons of sodium hychlorite for use at the wastewater treatment plant and the water filtration plant, and accepting the unit price bid from Carmeuse Lime and Stone in the amount of $465 per dry ton for an estimated 480 dry tons of hydrated lime for use at the wastewater treatment plant.
Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. Support.
We're on
all over.
Yeah, all over the place here. Councilmember Mosherak, supported by Councilmember Lamb. Okay, is there any questions?
Mayor Rep, just a comment. You know, all the 1 through 4 are all items that are chemicals that we put in prior to doing the process of taking care of the wastewater plant. And always mention this, and it never dry. But this is kind of like when you think of Flint, what they had, and how we take such interest in our water department. And this actually is what we do every year at this time, to do that, to have this refill. So, and when we talk about pathogens, it kills the bacteria in the water and the raw stuff. And so this helps treat our water and keep us, you know, at par or whatever and above to make sure that we're keeping our citizens safe.
Any questions? I wonder if we could find out if this is price increase, decrease, et cetera, if we could get.
Eric,
I got that too.
Eric's
I know it
with
was
us.
on there.
You want to answer? I got it.
I did ask.
No, it's not. It's about just a couple of dollars or whatever. think.
I know, but I just
Oh.
wanted him to address the,
Oh, okay.
for the public.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Attached to the memo was a spreadsheet identifying the various chemicals, both the percent increase or decrease by the unit price and also the quantity. So every year when we put this together, it's based on annual estimated quantities, and the contractor or the vendors provide unit prices on those. So I guess in general, if you add up all 4 chemicals, we're looking at about $73,000 more this year than we were last year with the pluses and minuses. So it appears for us that the chemical prices kind of stabilized. We had a few years that really didn't know what was going to happen, and there was some decreases in unit prices, but obviously the quantities affect that too. So.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Spot on. Spot on.
We will take the vote.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Huron?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, item 5.
Accepting the bid from Trojan Development Company Incorporated in the amount of $338,569 for the raw water intake valve replacement project located at the water filtration plant.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Councilmember Ashford, supported by Councilmember Pemberton. Do we have any questions? Discussion? I don't think we're given it. Nothing? Yeah, it was in our packets, so it's in this budgeted items, so we will take the vote.
Councilmember Huron?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Mayor Rep.
Yes, we'll move on to ordinance number 2.
First reading, an ordinance to amend Chapter 10 Building and Building Regulations, Article 2 Single State Construction Code, and Article 5 Non-Owner Occupied Certification of the Port Huron Code of Ordinances for the purpose of updating the chapter to provide new guidelines for city inspectors.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Councilmember Mosherak, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Archibald. Either no one speaks or everybody speaks. You realize that, don't you? Is there any questions, discussion? I wonder if David could come up and, do you want to address it?
Mayor Rep,
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was mine, to have him come up since.
Todd's gonna
And
come
Todd
up.
too,
Yeah,
whatever,
Todd's gonna
both of you
come
come.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
So these ordinance changes, there's really 2 ordinance changes that are designed to address some issues that have been reoccurring in our rental inspection program. If you look at I'll start with the second change, which is the real short change, and that occurs with respect to the definition of an exemplary residential dwelling. So An exemplary residential dwelling is one that gets a 4-year rental certification as opposed to a 2-year. We set standards probably about 12 years ago. We initially drafted these standards and came up with this 4-year program to reward landlords who did an exemplary job taking care of their facility. They would only be inspected every 4 years instead of every 2 years was the plan. At the time, we defined what an exemplary dwelling would be, or a rental unit, and some of the language we used was probably a little too restrictive. And so if you look at item number 1, it would have to meet 3 standards to get a 4-year certificate. And item number 1 was no deficiencies during any inspection. And that's pretty strict language, right? Because you could come out and find something extremely minor, and then technically under our rules, they would not be able to give a good landlord a 4-year certification. So what David and I did is we crafted language which is basically consistent with the way Dave's department has been applying that standard anyway. If there is a minor deficiency, then we're not going to deny somebody a 4-year. So we codified that just to adopt basically the standard that they had been applying in fact anyway. So that clears up that issue. It gives better guidance to the rental certification department exactly as to, when somebody would be eligible for a 4-year and when they wouldn't. So that was something that we reviewed with the Landlord Association as well. It's something they asked us to take a look at. And so we modified that to basically state what our current practice is anyway. So I think that's a good change. And then the second change is to the way we apply the International Property Maintenance Code. The International Property Maintenance Code is used as a standard for our rental inspectors when they inspect a home. It's not a standard that we're required by law to adopt. It's something that we adopted over 10 years ago as well. The problem with the International Property Maintenance Code, and that has been coming up more often recently, is that the International Property Maintenance Code doesn't have good, what I call grandfather language. So this is something that was alluded to by the Port Huron Landlord Association. You have 100-year homes. Our inspectors come in. You have a International Property Maintenance Code, and if you don't grandfather existing buildings, then you're requiring 100-year-old homes to come up to modern current standards, which was never really the intent, I believe, of the International Property Maintenance Code, and it was never the intent of our department when we first adopted that standard. So what we did is we just clarified, how the standard would apply. I say grandfather. What that basically means is you apply the code that existed at the time the building was built, or if it's altered, at the time the alteration took place. So when you make some type of change to your building, or something deteriorates and you have to replace something, then you would bring it up to modern standards. So what we did is we specified in here that language, and that grandfather language is pretty consistent with the way most judges and attorneys interpret the code anyway. There's really not a lot of case law in there, and really the only case law we could find on applying the International Property Maintenance Code and as to whether or not there was a grandfather clause was a case where the Court of Appeals, the Michigan Court of Appeals, assumed there was one but didn't cite to any. And the language itself in the International Property Maintenance Code really isn't good on that. Most codes have specific language. It really doesn't. So we thought we would clarify that and basically make sure our inspectors know that we're not expecting homes to be modified to current standards on everything. The only exception to that would be if there's an unsafe condition. I mean, the whole purpose of our rental certification program is to protect tenants, to make sure that the home is safe. And we also want to make sure that the home is aesthetically pleasing so that we don't have blight issues in our rental properties. So making these changes basically adopts what I think is the correct interpretation of the code, or at least the opinion of most lawyers and judges that that's the correct interpretation. And I think that's something the Landlord Association felt was 90% of the problems that they have with their complaints about our department relate specifically to that issue. So cleaning that up and fixing that gives better guidance to our inspectors, and I think is more consistent with the intent of the program.
Just that, yeah, as we look at pre-existing, obviously life safety is at the forefront. But as Todd had mentioned, a lot of these houses were built way before our current codes and changes. So as we look at what improvements have been made and when those improvements were made, we'll look at that code that was implemented at that time. And that will be kind of the guiding direction as far as whether any changes are needed or whether it's grandfathered in.
Any other questions from anybody, or does that clarify?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I always talk.
Okay. Just a quick comment, Mayor Rep. I'm just encouraged. I was encouraged when Mr. Bodice came up. I think we've talked in the past about, as a city, we want to be as easy to work with as possible while maintaining safety standards. Same things come up with building codes and all of that, right? And so this is just a really encouraging thing to me to hear, us trying to just work together towards the solutions that are safe and that, again, hit the spirit of the intent of what we want to do, which is not make it overly burdensome for people to do business in Port Huron, for people to, own property in Port Huron, but to also maintain safety for our residents. So this is just encouraging on all ends. So good work on everyone involved for sitting down together and hashing it out.
So, did you have a question, Councilmember Ashford?
Yeah. So Todd, so you're saying we initially started off with trying to incentivize for the efforts and working with them. And then we discovered through the process that the age of the homes and everything, it's not it's not a match to proceed with your incentive program. Is that right?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, these are two separate issues, but I guess they could be related.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they could, because one had the
right.
In order for you to do that. So an ordinance is what we put together. That's our laws. We could do that. That's why we're voting on it. So is there any statewide things that you looked at, or is that the law that you research?
No, so the standard that the city adopts is the choice of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not required to adopt the International Property Maintenance Code as a standard. But I think it's a good standard because it gives clear guidance to our rental inspectors and landlords as to what they need to do to bring their home up and make sure that it's maintained properly. And it's, it has very specific standards on a number of different items. So I think it's important to keep, and it's a really good guide for our rental inspectors and our landlords. But the way it was, if you interpret it to apply to, require everybody to bring everything up to current standards, that's, I think that goes beyond the intent of it. The intent is, the code gets stricter over the years, the safety standards increase. Something as simple as a handrail, the requirements of the code for a handrail for a stairs has changed. And so, what we're trying to do is make it clear what we think was the original intent is if something is currently safe,
right,
and it met the code, the standards of the code at the time it was installed, then that should be good unless for some reason it's become unsafe.
Oh, okay.
Then you would have to bring it up to current code. Like a good example would be, an electrical issue where there's exposed wiring.
Okay, so you got kind of like between point A and Z, if it is a safety hazard on your inspections, and then you make that known. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we define in here what an unsafe condition is, and we make it clear that an unsafe condition is not, hey, the code got stricter and therefore you have to meet the stricter standards, which basically every change is designed for safety purposes, right? So,
right. Yeah, I just asked that because I wanted
something that makes it more safe, even though it was deemed safe 10 years ago. We should apply the standard that existed 10 years ago in that circumstance.
Oh, okay.
It's a good example of the graspable handrail. That has been in place, I believe, going back into the 1980s. So if you have a handrail that was installed, in the 1960s and 70s, that code wasn't in place as it is written today. But if it was installed in 1990s and later, more than likely, it should have been installed to that code. So we'll be looking at what issues are in front of us, and then when was that rule put into place, and how does that apply to that particular case?
Yeah, well, I think it's a good job because there's so much legislation going on with up in Lansing. You know, they change like I don't know if they go home and go to bed and come up with something different. And it's just like running havoc, not just for the landlords, but also, you know, for the tenants. So what you're doing, and you can sit down and collaborate. I think that's the ball game right there. So as long as you could get it together, and as Mr. Bodice mentioned, that we always can amend this. If you have that bump, sit down and talk about it, bring an amendment before us, and we can make that right.
Yep. The watchword is we want our program to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Right, reasonable. That's the watchword that we train our officers on.
Right. Well, you can't get blood from a turnip, and it's hard out there now. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments, questions? Thank you, and thank you for all of you working together to get this resolved.
Thank you.
I think it's good for everybody. Thank you. We will take the vote.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosherak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pemberton?
Yes.
Councilmember Archibald?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashford?
Yes.
Councilmember Haremza?
Yes.
Mayor Rep?
Yes. That concludes our agenda. Is there anything else that anyone would like to bring forward?
Mayor, I do have something to bring forward. And I thought it was a good idea that James is, put up this, what is it, the complaint?
Yes.
What do you call it?
Response.
Oh, okay. Are we going to hear from, is there some kind of format, who does the complaint go to? Because there's everybody write us all, and we're all given different responses, and when you can have a clearinghouse right there, because we're going to do the same thing he does, that he's doing when it goes putting, I guess, a team. I don't know, is it a team?
Yeah.
Can you explain it to us?
Yes, so the complaint goes into the system, and there's somebody that's responding to those and getting them to the departments that need to handle this, and respond to them.
So
and I know it's been really successful so far, and I don't know.
Well, we wouldn't know, and that's what I'm asking. I think there should be some kind of monthly reporting, because when we get something, we're out there among our constituency and want to know, well, we're getting this, and if it's already been.
Well, I think that we should get an update as to how many once it's in place for a while. But beyond that, I think as council people, a lot of times we get complaints from somebody and they haven't gone through the other channels. Not that they can't complain to us, and I don't mean that. But they should go through the official channels first to make sure that that's not, that it's handled and that type of thing. So I guess I would encourage to direct someone to this particular site, because that's how it's going to get logged, and that's how it's going to be followed up, and the response is going to be it's going to be very similar to, except that technology has changed, obviously, the Bureau of Public Information and Complaint, which years ago I used to run when I worked here, and we haven't had that, because I had talked to James about that, because I think that was something that was missing, because there was no particular clearinghouse that could follow up. I mean, we didn't have maybe the technological things then, and we actually had like a tickler file, and you put it in there, and a week later you check to make sure somebody followed up on it, and then you went back out to the departments, and if they hadn't followed up on it, then you kind of bug them, you need to follow up on this. But a person always got a response, as long as they left their name. So, I mean, if you call in anonymously, obviously we can't respond to you. But I think that this is an updated, very similar.
Well, yeah,
type
I would like
thing.
a written
So
update.
I think that we should have some kind of a reporting, but I think we should encourage people to use it.
It should be a solid, not to overtalk you, I'm sorry. I think it should be a solid report, something that we can refer to, because I'm not going to sit there and call James if you've been over this and done this, and it's more of a conversation with the person I'm talking to. I say, I see where you called us on February 6th and you had this thing, and who was responsible for it, when did it occur, the actual time that it was resolved. Those are the kind of things you need. I mean, you need that kind of feedback in order to be just be informed.
Well, I would
can't
think,
go out there and say, he said, well, I talked about this last year. Well, you didn't call me last year, so I don't know. So
I think maybe a monthly report you can mention.
Yeah, I'll mention it to James. I do know that even in the first week, it was super popular, so there's
And how
as
are-
far as the amount, and I know, go ahead.
how are you promoting it?
I know that there's been a lot of stuff like on the website. I don't want to misspeak, but I want to say that there's
was on
information
the
in
radio.
Times Herald, there's
Sure.
been information
Radio.
on the radio. And I know, like Pauline's talking about the old system, and I've been here that long to know it too. And you got the nasty gram if you
Yes, you
didn't
did.
respond.
You didn't respond, yes.
I know that James and the person that's running it is making sure that everybody is getting responded to and things are being followed up on. And as Pauline said, as Mayor Rep said, the nice thing about it is it goes to the department head and the person that actually can handle the issue instead of being in this abyss of maybe the bright person not handling it. So I do know that James has been following very carefully that everybody's been getting response, and the nice thing with the new technology is.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about a council
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
That's all I'm worried about.
And I will
What
talk
James
to
does,
him.
I want to make sure the council is
Yes.
doing that. 'cause
I guess, I mean, his connection would be making sure that
Yeah,
things
that
are
we
followed
are-
up on.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
just telling him, don't think about it, that that's what we want to make happen.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else? A motion to adjourn.
So move.
Meeting adjourned.